So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Brandon. It's great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. This is great. I'm excited to speak with you.
You're very welcome. So, Brandon, tell the listeners about you. Why did you decide to be a life coach and in Stoic practices?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been an entrepreneur for about 8 years or so. I have a consulting business that I started just kind of by accident, and then I started building some e-commerce websites, and that's what's kept me very busy. But it wasn't until I started to actually, I've studied Stoicism throughout that time, but it was always a very private thing, not something I really spoke with anyone about. But one day I started trying to talk with people on Twitter or X about it, and ended up meeting my now business partners, Benny and Bryce, and we just got together and decided that Stoicism has been so influential in my life and really helped me through some of the darkest days of my life, and I just wanted to share that with the world, and so we started hosting spaces on X just as something to connect with other people, and through those realized what an impact this was having in people's lives, and just in the short, we've been doing them for almost 2 years now, and just in that time, the change that we've seen in some of our communities' lives is really impressive. So we said, well, we've got to find a way to get this outside of Twitter and bring this to a wider audience, and that's where the idea for Via Stoica came from, and our company, where we do provide Stoic coaching, among some other things. But
Mm-hmm. Nice. So Brandon, if somebody's watching and they haven't heard what Stoic is, could you tell them what exactly is Stoic?
yeah, absolutely. And it's a question I love answering because there is some misconceptions. There's the term Stoic that we use kind of in our modern day language, which is sort of a stone face. You don't show emotions and all that sort of thing. Whereas Stoicism, the philosophy, is almost the opposite. We're very in touch with our emotions, very aware of how they impact us, but what Stoicism teaches is that, we are the observers of our emotions. We're not controlled by our emotions. Yes, there's signals to say, hey, this makes me angry, this makes me sad, but it's the next step of why is that, and kind of examining that a little deeper. And that Stoicism also teaches us that we should really try and focus on just the things that we can control, while ignoring the things that we can't control. And when you really break it down, that comes to only a few things, our thoughts, our opinions, our actions. We can't control the way other people act and behave, but we can control how we react to the way they behave. So it just brings a lot of calm and tranquility to my life. It allows me to kind of make decisions in a more simpler and easier way. But that is Stoicism to me. It's just a provider of calm.
Wow, nicely said. So Brandon, what is the framework of Stoicism? What is the framework? Is there different structures of it, or is it just one structure?
So Stoicism has what they call the virtues, and I know kind of the word virtue does have sort of a very like religious connotation or very high and mighty, whereas in Stoicism and back in the language from 2,000 years ago, it was more of just like rules or kind of traits that you want to exemplify. So the four Stoic virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are kind of the areas that you focus on, but the ultimate focus being that you're living in accordance with your nature, as the Stoics put it. And what that means is that we do what we're naturally supposed to do. So we are, Stoics believe that as human beings, we are naturally supposed to be in community. We're naturally supposed to support other people and care for other people using the individual skills that we have, because everyone has their own unique abilities, their own unique skills. And it's all part of this kind of collective, or this whole, where we all come together and we're all little pieces of this big giant puzzle. So to keep that in mind, and that is another kind of misconception, is that Stoics are seen as kind of like they go off in their ivory towers and they don't, and they just study themselves and they're all about focused on the self. And while that is important, because you need to understand yourself well and understand your own personal strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, it's so you can take that out into the community, into the collective, and help others and serve others.
So the framework you talk you talked about, Brandon, is it, do you have to have the virtue and all of the framework you talk about in order to be a Stoic, or how do you get that?
So it's funny that the Stoics have this idea called the sage, and the Stoic sage is someone that acts 100% of the time in Stoic virtues. They're always acting the right way. They're always performing and responding in the right way. And even the most famous Stoics, the original teachers, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and Epictetus, wouldn't say that they were ever the sage, because we understand that as human beings, we mess up, and that's part of life, and you're never going to be perfect. But the goal is that you're just trying to reach that. It's about more, Stoics are about action and what you're trying to do. It's about the progress, not necessarily the results, and the process, not necessarily the results. So that is, you don't have to have it. In fact, I would say that you're never going to have it. You're never going to act perfectly or have all four virtues at the same time. I've been studying this for 9 years or so, and I have struggles with it to this day. And it's just but that's part of kind of the acceptance of, like, we're going to wake up and we're going to be humans today. And sometimes humans are messy. So no, it's not about necessarily having it all the time. It's more about just striving to ultimately be better next time.
So you talked about, do you have to be religious in order to be a Stoic, or that's two different separate things? You can be religious and don't be a Stoic, or you don't have to be religious in order to be a Stoic.
That is actually one of the beautiful things about Stoicism. It crosses all sorts of boundaries like that. You have atheists that are Stoics, you have Christians that are Stoics, Buddhists, Muslims, all of the above. All of the different types. So it's more of a framework of a philosophy of life. And now Stoics do talk about believing in something, right? So and not necessarily if that's karma, if that's God, if that's whatever. It's just in this kind of general cosmic idea that there is a higher power. I'm not the most important thing here. Like the collective, the community really is. So however that works for you is great, because, and that's like sort of the beauty of it, is they're not trying to say one thing is bad or good. In fact, they teach us not to necessarily label things as bad or good. But yeah, so as far as the religious side goes, it's definitely not something that has to be involved at all. And I think that is one of the reasons why you have a lot of people that are gravitating towards Stoicism, specifically as a philosophy of life, because it doesn't have, it's not trying to say that one dogma or one religion is wrong or anything like that.
So, Brandon, where do you offer your services? Like, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or your group, um, how can they reach you? How can the listeners get in touch with you? What is your website address? Do you have a book about Stoic practices on Amazon? Do you have a book, or do you have a book coming up? How do the listeners schedule an appointment with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do free consultations on our website at viastoica.com. So you can schedule a free time there, and that'll give you a chance to meet with one of us and just have an idea of kind of what kind of Stoic coaching would be. It is a sense of life coaching, but with that background in philosophy. So that's really what it is, and so you can find it there at viastoica.com. Also, we do weekly meetings, community meetings on Twitter, at viastoica.com, or at viastoica, excuse me. And then myself, I'm at Boggles the Stoic, personally. But you can find all that information, again, like I said, on the Via Stoica page on Twitter, on Instagram, and LinkedIn.
So do you have a book? Have you written a book about it? Since you said it's the cornerstone of your life, have you written a book about Stoic practices, or are you thinking of writing a book about it?
No, I am actually not the writer in the group. Benny, who's a previous guest on your podcast, he's the writer in the group, and we have discussed ideas. I'm very much the business operations side of things, so I would definitely be helping him publish that and get that ready. And we have thrown around a few ideas, but at first, the Stoic book market was very dominated by a man named Ryan Holiday. He kind of was the one that really brought this to the masses. And now it's starting to where other people are coming along, other authors that we've had on our own podcast and stuff are starting to write very, very specific books. So one idea that Benny and I have kicked around, we're both travelers. We both, Benny travels around and lives out of his backpack. I've been doing that for the last 5 years as well. And traveling and stoicism is definitely goes hand in hand, with handling kind of the uncertainty of travel and the ups and downs of kind of being on your own and things like that. So that is one idea that we've started to kick around, and we'll definitely try and release something next year.
Sounds good. Excellent. So do your services, they offer only in the US or around the world?
Oh, worldwide. Most of our clients, actually, we have about half in the US and half outside of the US. And that's usually about it is. Even our listeners on our podcast and the people that attend our spaces on X are about, half in the US and then half outside. Because, we do have, and that's kind of the beauty of the three of us. I live in Panama, and then Benny's in the Netherlands, and then Bryce is in LA in the US. So we do have a wide geographical spread, which gives us a lot of access to different people, and our time zones are spread out enough so that we can offer our services to pretty much anyone.
Oh, sounds good. So, Brandon, do you have any last words for the listeners about achieving Stoic freedom?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, just start. We need to listen to our intuition. If something is telling you, is drawing you in a particular direction, start. Start with small steps. I think that's always easiest, to figure out how you can do this. But one thing I will say is I also think that developing a philosophy of life is really important, whether that's stoicism or not. We say that we're not trying to turn people into stoics. We're trying to just teach the ideas of stoicism and share that with people, and then they can take that and mold it and apply it the way that they see fit. But if you don't have a philosophy of life, you're going to be influenced by something else, if not yourself. So why not be yourself? So I think that going down this journey, and it is a longer journey, right? Figuring out yourself and what makes you tick and things like that. Asking those tough questions can be hard, but that's why we have the community of individuals that are on the same path, trying to find that path to tranquility. So you can find more information about our community on our website at viastoica.com. Or if you want to talk it over with one of us, we do offer free consultations for our coaching services.
Wow. So, Brandon, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Appreciate you.